Research is telling us more and more about what tools people diagnosed with ADHD can use to help them be their most productive selves. But the good news is that anyone looking to improve their focus can use them to their advantage to get their work done. In this video, we'll explore 4 science-backed techniques and strategies for boosting concentration. Let's get into it. Tip number 1 is to try body doubling. Have you ever wondered why oftentimes it's easier to focus in a public place, like an office or library, when surrounded by people also trying to concentrate? Well, you're not alone. Research shows that being in the presence of others, even if they're strangers, can help us get our work done. This is the inspiration behind a technique known as body doubling. The ADHD community has known about body doubling for a while, but it's recently become popular with anyone looking to boost their productivity. To practice body doubling, find someone, a friend, family member, or colleague, to be your accountability partner. Ideally, they'd be someone working on a task similar to yours, but they don't have to be, as long as they don't distract you from your work. Often, just being there is enough. For example, you could try writing a school paper while your body double does their laundry in the same room. You can also body double in a group, and it works just as well virtually using video call software. You can even use strangers in a coffee shop without them ever knowing. Body doubles are passive. They don't actively tell you to stay on task, but simply act as a reminder that there's something you're meant to be working on. You might wonder whether the technique has much impact, but you'd be surprised. Even this subtle form of accountability makes you much less likely to spend time mindlessly scrolling on social media or rearranging your backpack for the 3rd time when you should be studying. Subconsciously, we're much better behaved when we think someone might be watching and judging us. Most of us would be embarrassed to go to the library and spend all day procrastinating, even if only in front of strangers. Research on why body doubling is effective is only beginning, but scientists have proposed several explanations. One theory is that people with ADHD have low levels of dopamine, a chemical in the brain related to pleasure and reward, which makes it harder for them to focus. Body doubling might work because studies show that social interactions can increase dopamine levels. Another explanation is simply that body doubling works because of the audience effect, an effect discovered over 100 years ago that makes us behave differently when we believe we're being watched by others. Whatever the reasons behind its effectiveness, the only way to know whether body doubling works for you is to try it out yourself. Tip number 2 is to listen to white noise. In 2016, a study involving 40 participants were split into 2 groups, 20 with ADHD and 20 without. All participants took intelligence tests that required attention and brain power. They took the tests twice, once while listening to white noise and once in silence. The ADHD group was tested both with and without their medication. The results showed that regardless of medication use, individuals with ADHD performed significantly better in 2 tasks when exposed to white noise. This improvement was particularly notable in tasks related to learning and recalling words. Surprisingly, when those in the ADHD group took the tests on their medication without white noise, there was no improvement. This suggests that the medication had no effect on their performance, highlighting that it was the presence of white noise that contributed to the enhanced scores. A more recent 2022 study by researchers in Taiwan showed similar results. The researchers took over 100 people, half with ADHD, and tested their attention and behavior with and without white noise. For those without issues focusing, the white noise had little effect. But for the people with problems concentrating, using white noise improved their ability to focus on their goals, and they made fewer mistakes. They were also calmer and less hyperactive. So, what's going on? How can more noise make us more productive? Well, many of us notice that we work best not in total silence, but when there's a little background noise. Cars driving by outside, for example, or a washing machine whirring away in another room. It sounds counterintuitive. When concentrating, we might think that the best thing to do is remove all possible distractions. But listening to white noise can actually improve our ability to stay on task. White noise is like a steady, consistent shushing or hissing. It's a mixture of all the different frequencies of sounds that humans can hear, played at the same intensity. You probably know what a TV or radio set to a channel with no station sounds like. The static sound is similar to white noise. Here's what white noise sounds like. Scientists believe that white noise helps us focus because it acts as a consistent and predictable background noise that stops us from being distracted as much by random sounds in the environment. Essentially, white noise drowns out other noises, so we don't notice them as easily. Scientists also think that it might work so well for ADHD because white noise is suspected to increase dopamine levels in the brain, which, as we know, are often lower in people with ADHD. If you don't have a natural source of white noise in your environment, don't worry. Today, it's easy to find apps and playlists that do the job just as well. Tip number 3, start journaling. You've probably heard all the benefits of journaling, from helping you track goals to making you more organized. But it can also be an effective tool to massively improve focus and productivity. People with ADHD often find that completing even straightforward tasks can be challenging. The constant noise in their minds and the struggle to filter out distractions can be exhausting. However, there's a transformative solution at hand, and it's been made incredibly accessible through the Day One journaling app. We're the sponsor of today's video. Day One is designed to revolutionize the journaling experience. It's more than just an app. It's a tool that empowers you to elevate your productivity, organize your thoughts, process your emotions, and manage life's responsibilities with ease. Journaling with Day One can significantly impact your life in several key ways. First, it improves emotional processing. People with ADHD are more likely to experience negative self-talk and find regulating emotions difficult. Day One is a way to express thoughts and feelings, vent about life's problems, and identify emotional patterns safely. One study of 122 students found that those who journaled about the emotions of a traumatic event were better at seeing the positives in it than those who only wrote about the event factually. Secondly, journaling can enhance your stress management capabilities. People with ADHD generally experience more stress when trying to manage deadlines and balance demands. As a result, they sometimes turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Day One helps get stressful and negative thoughts out of your head and onto the screen. Studies showed that journaling can be therapeutic, relaxing anxiety and helping you regain balance. And with Day One's audio transcription feature, and our favorite feature too, you can express exactly how you feel and it will expertly transcribe it all down for you. Lastly, research suggests that people with ADHD sometimes struggle with working memory. Day One helps by giving you a written or drawn record of tasks and reflections to refer back to, stopping you from forgetting important information. If you haven't journaled before or want to get back into it, try Day One. Or go to dayoneapp.com/improvementpill and use code IMPROVEMENTPILL to unlock a limited time offer of a 2-month free trial of Day One Premium. That's DAYONE app.com/improvementpill and see why it's the #1 journaling app out there. Now on to our next tip, which is get enough omega-3. When figuring out how to improve attention and productivity, we generally look for the best hacks and techniques, which makes sense. But research is increasingly showing that there's a tight link between focus and what we eat. For example, the connection between omega-3 and ADHD is well established. A comprehensive study from 2014 found that people with ADHD have blood levels of omega-3 38% lower than in people without it. And research on almost 500 UK residents found that those with lower levels of omega-3 were more angry and aggressive and had more mood swings and learning difficulties. Looking to learn whether raising omega-3 would actually improve focus, one study tested 92 children and teenagers with ADHD to see who was low in omega-3 and gave half omega-3 supplements and half a placebo, so no one knew which group they were part of. The trial lasted 12 weeks, and the participants were assessed using various rigorous tests of attention, focus, and impulsivity. Once at the beginning of the study, and again at the end, the researchers found that the subjects low in omega-3 at the start became more attentive and vigilant and performed better when tested at the end of the experiment. The results were so strong that they were very unlikely to be due to chance. In contrast, anyone with normal levels of omega-3 at the start of the trial saw no improvements. We're still learning about the link between omega-3 and attention, but given that omega-3 is known to have a ton of beneficial health effects, from improving heart health to raising mood, including more into your diet, as long as it's not too much, is something there's no harm in trying. And finally, tip number 5, utilize the Zeigarnik effect. In the 1920s, Dr. Zeigarnik, a Soviet psychologist, was at a restaurant with friends when she noticed that the waiters could remember extremely long and complex orders, while the order was still active and the restaurant goers hadn't gotten their food, but they would totally forget everything as soon as the order was completed, even though they'd been able to remember it just moments earlier. Curious to know what was going on, Zeigarnik conducted experiments to see whether people were better at remembering information when they were in the middle of a task compared to when they had finished it. She would get participants to solve a puzzle or learn some information and stop half of them partway through by making them do an unrelated task, like drawing or counting backwards. Then she'd see whether those who got interrupted were better at remembering what they'd learned later on. Zeigarnik's studies found that subjects who had to stop what they were doing before it was done were better at remembering what they had learned than those who were allowed to complete them. So why is this? Her theory was that once we start a task, our brain develops something called task-specific tension. Task-specific tension improves our brain's ability to access information, memories, or thoughts when we need them, making it easier for us to succeed at what we're doing. And it only goes away when our task is finished. When we work on something interesting and have to stop suddenly, the tension makes it harder to concentrate fully on anything. We want to get back and finish. People wanting to improve their focus commonly use the Zeigarnik effect in 3 ways. One way is to overcome procrastination by making a start on your project, even if you do just a little, to open the loop. It doesn't matter how long you work on the task or how much you do. Simply getting started can significantly improve motivation. Once you've begun building up cognitive tension, ideas about your task will keep popping into your head, and you'll be eager to get back to it. You can also schedule breaks tactically so that you're most engrossed in your task when it's time to take some rest. Research shows that students who stop studying to take short breaks remember the material much better than those who don't take any. This works best when you do something completely unrelated to your work, like going for a walk. Finally, try leaving your work on a cliffhanger. Screenwriters and movie producers harness the Zeigarnik effect by using cliffhangers to keep us coming back, but you can use it to your advantage too. Instead of working until the end of the day when you've done all that needs doing, leave your work at a place that you'll be excited to come back to. Keep your appetite whetted so that you're excited and not anxious to return the next day. There's no reason that struggling to focus should impact your productivity. If you're having problems concentrating, the tips and tools we've explored here are guaranteed to be helpful. Good luck trying them out for yourself, and besides that, stay tuned.